Yo, what's up, YouTube? This is your boy Alex. The time, well, it's about to be 9:30, going on 10 o'clock. And this is going to be my second YouTube video, 2 days in a row. No sex game, people. I will make a sex game video on my other channel either Friday or Saturday, because I want to try to get it to 5 to 6 days off, because, it's the NBA playoffs, sports, it's September. And I'm gonna make some videos on sports, basketball, football, baseball, MMA, and then I got my new clothing channel, and I want to talk about clothes and fashion. So we'll eventually get back to our original content on my original channel. But when you got like almost 7 or 8 YouTube channels like I got, you cannot pump out all that content on one channel. It's impossible. Even if you have 2 or 3 YouTube channels, you still can't pump out all that content on 1, 2, 3 channels. It's still impossible. But that's not why you're watching my show. This is sports. All right, this is my game prediction for the Houston Rockets versus the Los Angeles Lakers in the second round of the NBA playoffs of the Western Conference semifinals. Now, congratulations to the Houston Rockets. I watched that game last night, that series between Houston Rockets and Oklahoma City Thunder. It went to 7 games. It was a competitive series. Um, Chris Paul tried his hardest. Chris Paul gave it all he had. Chris Paul took it to 7 games, but in the end, Chris Paul came up short, which I'll make a separated video about why I think he may go down in history as the best basketball player to never win a championship, and could have been had he got a championship early on in his career. That'll be a separate video. It won't be after the NBA Finals. It might be a special before the NBA Finals kick off. All right, my prediction, it's 50-50. Okay, this game's going to come on tomorrow. It's the Los Angeles Clippers versus the Denver Nuggets. I already made that game 24 hours ago. And you got 2 LA teams that play back-to-back. The Clippers play the Nuggets, Houston Rockets, and the Lakers tomorrow. In my opinion, they should actually wait until like Saturday, but the Lakers already had like 2 or 3 days of rest, and Houston are only getting a day off. All right, this is going to be a very competitive basketball game, okay? 99.999%. Whoever wins game 1 goes on to win the series and advance to the next round, whether it's the first round. Well, you advance from the first round to the second round, the third round, into the finals. Now, I think this is a very good matchup, Lakers versus Houston Rockets in the playoffs, because I'm going to be 100% honest with y'all. Had Chris Paul and OKC won last night's game and it was OKC versus the Lakers, you probably would have saw another 7-game series. And to me, this is a better matchup, because it's like taking a look in the mirror and looking at your reflection. The Houston Rockets are a very good offensive basketball team. They're good on offense. Defense is like a work in progress. They're getting better on defense, and it's like a custom-made glove where they're starting to figure out who they are. They're starting to figure out their identity. They're starting to figure out how to play offense and defense. They're starting to figure out how you win basketball games at home and on the road. And they've surprised me because they won the first round. People thought Houston would just lose the second round like they always have. And we're seeing the Houston Rockets dominate the playoffs like we never saw before. In the past 7 seasons, they couldn't beat teams like the Golden State Warriors, the Thunder, or the Spurs. They would usually lose to those 3 teams and have trouble trying to get from the second round to the third round, or they get to the third round and they couldn't get to the finals. This seemed like the one time in history that everything might come together for the Houston Rockets. The reason why I say that is because I would probably say they're like the underdogs, because the Lakers are the favorite to win this series, basically. And if the Houston Rockets can do what they did in the first round and did what they did in the second, what they did with Chris Paul. Well, I take that back. This is the second round, technically. I'm tripping. If they can do what they did to OKC, and this is a big if they can somehow figure out how to last 5 games, 6 games, and not just put up 10, 15, 20 points in the first half and then fall apart the second half of the basketball game, if they can somehow keep up this pace for 5 to 6 games, they might actually upset the Los Angeles Lakers. But I have a feeling that LeBron James and Anthony Davis are going to figure out how to play the Houston Rockets. This is a team that played each other twice in the season, okay? And this is a team that is going to figure out how to play. LeBron James is a superstar. James Harden's a superstar. Russell Westbrook's a superstar. Anthony Davis is a superstar. Now, in order for the Lakers to win this basketball game, they got to play 4 quarters. And you just can't do it for one basketball game. When the Lakers won the first game, or should I say when the Lakers lost to Portland, a lot of people were shocked. And to me, you don't want to see the same thing repeat itself in a new series. So Lakers need to win game 1, and then Lakers need to respond and win game 2. To me, if the Los Angeles Lakers want to advance to the 3rd round of the Western Conference semifinals and try to advance to the NBA Finals, you're going to have to win game 1 and 2. No excuses. You know, this is a make or break series. This determines who goes to the 3rd round. I have a prediction. We're going to end up seeing the Los Angeles Lakers go to the 3rd round, and they're going to either face the Denver Nuggets or the Los Angeles Clippers in the 3rd round for the first time or second time in NBA history. We're going to see 2 teams from LA face each other in the 3rd round, and that's going to turn into a 7-game series. Now, you might say, come on, man, we ain't got to the 3rd round. We ain't got to the finals for you to be going that far into the future. What I'm saying is, if the Lakers really want to win an NBA championship, everything has to be close to perfect. You got to win game 1 and 2. You got to be up 2-0. Not down 2-0, up 2-0. LeBron James got to start playing in these games. You can't just score 25, 30 points in one game and then don't do it in game 2 and 3. Like when they complained in the Portland series that the Lakers won the series, but they got too tentative. They got too comfortable and relaxed with the lead. And with the Houston Rockets, they're not going to be able to calm down. They're not going to be able to relax. So in games 1 and 2 and in 3, I expect LeBron James to go for 25, 30 points. If he has to, go for 35 or 40. Anthony Davis is the one to me who needs to step up and be aggressive and assertive. Anthony Davis has the presence to go into the backcourt. I need Anthony Davis throughout this whole series to get at least 10 to 15 blocks, maybe 20 blocks, maybe 15, 20 rebounds. I'm going to need him to make his free throws and have a post-up game presence. LeBron James can score at will, but I believe that the key to the Lakers winning the series is going to have to be Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard. This is where Dwight Howard is going to have to start scoring at least 10 points. 10 points, 10 blocks, 10 rebounds. You know, this is where Dwight Howard's going to have to show flashes of the old Dwight Howard from his Orlando Magic days. Because it can't just be LeBron James and Anthony Davis. It's going to take the Lakers team to win this series. Now, I think Lakers win the series in 5 or 6 games. If I'm the Houston Rockets, I probably might want to force a game 7. Because I've noticed the longer a series lasts for the Houston Rockets, they win the series. The longer the series goes on, Houston wins the series. The faster and quicker the Lakers can end a series, Lakers win. So I think the LA Lakers should win 130 to 127. So I guess we're going to need LeBron James and Anthony Davis to get 30 points apiece. Dwight Howard going to have to at least chip in with 10, maybe 15 points. It should be 20 points. And the rest of the Laker team should, score. If not, and I say if not, then we will see the Houston Rockets upset the Los Angeles Lakers in games 1 and 2. It'll be 132 to 124. I expect throughout the first 4 games of the series, it's just going to be a shootout. I mean, we're going to see both teams play offense, defense. We're going to see the score change back and forth. The first half, you're going to get the feeling that the Houston Rockets going to take the series. The second half, you're going to see the Lakers make that legendary comeback and then take the series. And then you're going to see somewhere in Game 5, a pivotal Game 5 or a pivotal Game 6, someone is going to have the advantage in the series. It's either the Lakers or the Houston Rockets. It's either LeBron James and Anthony Davis advance to the third round and face the Clippers, or it's going to be the Houston Rockets that advances to the third round and faces the winners out of the Clippers and the Denver Nuggets. This is a make or break series. In this basketball game, you cannot afford to lose game 1 and 2. You lose game 1, then you have to win game 2. But if you lose game 1 and 2, the series is over. Because as you know, most teams, when they're down 0-2 or 0-3, 90% of the time you don't come back from a 2-0 or 3-0 deficit. There are only a few teams in the second round and third round that has come back from down 0-2 or down 0-3 and forced a game 7 and won the series. So if the Lakers want to win, they got to win games 1 and 2. They can't get comfortable. They can't get complacent. They can't get relaxed because not Chris Paul, but James Harden is going to be on his game. He's capable of dropping 30, 40, 50 points a night. Russell Westbrook is going to score his 30, 40 points. You know, he's determined to knock off the Lakers to make a big statement. So if the Houston Rockets win this series, whether it's in 5 or 6 games, or we see another game 7, this is for them to make an everlasting impression. If the Lakers beat the Houston Rockets, because they're the favorites to win, everyone expects them to go to the third round, and people want to see the Lakers in the NBA Finals. And in order for that to happen, you got to play. So if I'm the Lakers, I want this series to end in 5 or 6 games. If I'm the Houston Rockets, I might want to force a game 7. The longer the series lasts, it goes into the favorite of the Houston Rockets. The shorter the series lasts, it goes in the favor of the Lakers. It's age versus experience. You know, LeBron James has got the experience because he's won 3 NBA championships, 6 NBA finals. You know, and you look on the age side, James Harden's got the age with the experience. He's gone to an NBA finals. He lost to LeBron James before, remember? The 2012 NBA finals? James Harden can take that experience and use it for this series. Russell Westbrook went to an NBA Finals. So these guys know what it takes to get to the next level and the next level. And to me, you're going to see a shootout in the first 4 games. In fact, somewhere in game 2, if not in game 1 and 2, somewhere in either games 3, 4, or 5, somewhere before the series is over, this might go into 1 or 2 overtimes. It's not guaranteed, but you might see it. It's going to get very competitive. It's going to get very physically intense. There's going to be fouls, technical fouls. You're going to see tempers get flare. You're going to see LeBron James get snappy and get hit up with a tech. You're going to see James Harden, Russell Westbrook get hit with techs. You may not see it in games 1 and 2. Somewhere in games 3, 4, and 5, you're going to see questionable fouls be called. You're going to see questionable calls in the game get called. You're going to see some good and bad referee officiating in this game. Why I say that? Because it goes back to the golden rule. Whoever wins game 1, 99.99% wins the rest of the series. Now, there have been some times in history where someone wins game 2 or games 3 and upsets, and then they go and win the series. So, Lakers are the favorites to win, the Houston Rockets or the underdogs, and once again, you could see an upset in this series. I picked the Lakers to win the series, but if they do not get it together and they lose game 1 like they did to Portland, and then they bounce back and won game 2, and then they almost lost game 3 to Portland, if that happens in this series, Houston Rockets will take an advantage and will upset the Lakers. So unless you guys want to see Lakers versus Clippers or Denver, Lakers need to win game 1 and 2, because if not, we're going to end up seeing Houston Rockets versus the winners out of Denver and Clippers in the third round for the Western Conference semifinals, and the winners out of that matchup will advance to the NBA Finals. So that's my game prediction. It's 50-50. If the Lakers win, I think the score might be 130 to 127, or the Houston Rockets might upset 132 to 24.